Hi. So I get really nervous speaking, so this is a good challenge for me. So when I was a senior in college, I went to Boston University, and I went on a thing called Semester at Sea. And I don't know if any of you know Semester at Sea, but if you don't know it, it's basically a big, gigantic cruise ship, and 650 undergraduate college students go on this cruise ship, and you travel around the world together, and you get college credit for it. So how it works is you go to a country, you learn all about the country, you stay in that country for a few days, then you go back to port, you go back on the ship, then you go on sea for another 3 days, and then you go to another country. So in between countries, we were on the ocean for 3 or 4 days, and there wasn't much to do other than, of course, we were supposed to be learning. But there's a bar on the ship, and on the bar they were serving hard liquor, and they were also serving beer and wine. So most of us kids, what we would do at night, we would just get completely wasted and have sex. So that's basically what the ship was all about. You get wasted, you hook up, you get wasted, you hook up. So we were on the way to Egypt. This was halfway, yeah, you guys should all go. It was halfway into the voyage. It was pretty awesome. Oh, but my boyfriend's here, so I didn't do that, honey. So halfway into the voyage, we were on our way to Egypt, and we had about 2 days before we were supposed to get to Egypt. So we're on sea, and there was not much to do, so we all started drinking. We were back of the ship, and it was me and my friend Jason from also BU, and then his best friend Brian, who was on the ship, and then a few other people. And Jason was one of those guys, he was a total, all the girls loved Jason on the ship. He was super ripped, super strong guy, like he definitely had a liquor problem or an alcohol problem, and so he got annihilated this night. And he came over to us, and he had this grand idea. He was going to grab one of the life preservers that was attached by a rope to the railing of the ship. He was going to put it around his body. He was going to rappel against the side of the ship. He was going to touch the water, and then he was going to pull himself back up again. So when you're wasted, this is an awesome idea. But when we were just like, no, Jason, we don't think you should do that. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Watch me. So he runs to the railing of the ship. He puts his leg over it. He puts his other leg over it. He puts a life preserver on his body. He looks at us, and he's like, watch this. And in 2 seconds, Jason's gone. And we had no idea what just happened. So when a tragic situation happens, I always consider myself to be a hero, but I'm definitely a bystander. Like, I was just sitting there, and it took me a long time to figure out what had just happened to my friend. So we ran over to the side of the ship, and Jason had fallen into the water. And this was 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was awake. There was no moon out. It was complete darkness. This is not a rescue vessel. The chances of finding someone when they fall off the ship is pretty much not going to happen at all. So immediately Brian grabs a bunch of life preservers, and he just starts tossing it into the water. And he runs up to the captain, and he tells the captain what happens. The captain gets on the intercom. He says, Mr. Ma port side, which means Mr. Man overboard on the left-hand side of the ship. So everyone starts waking up on the ship, and they start, putting on their coats, and we all go outside. And the way the ship has to turn around is they can't just do a U-turn. It has to do a figure 8. So it goes around like this, and then it has to go back, and it goes to the place where they think that person falls off. And because Brian tossed life preservers in the water, we were going to try to get back to where all the life preservers were. But it takes 45 minutes to do this. So Jason, if he found a life preserver, might be okay, but otherwise he has to tread water for 40 minutes, if he even survived the fall. Like, this is a 15-story fall that this guy went on. So anyway, so we do a 45-minute figure 8, and we finally get back to the place where all these life preservers are in the water, and they're scattered all over the place because the current had taken them to different spots. So Jason was probably not even going to be in that spot anyway. And sure enough, he's nowhere to be found. And then all of a sudden, this guy Brian, we all need a friend like Brian. He gets on the intercom because people are freaking out. Girls are crying, everyone's screaming. And Brian gets on the intercom, and he goes, everybody, he goes, shut the hell up. And everyone gets quiet. And way in the distance, we hear this shrieking, and we hear this yelling. We certainly can't see him, but we can definitely hear him. And that's Jason. And he's way off in the distance. And so we finally know he's alive. So they put a little tiny lifeboat in the water. 2 guys go out and get him. They bring him back to the ship. They have a big towel around him. He's freaking out. They put him in the bottom of the ship. So Jason's banned from the ship. So basically when we got to Egypt, they kicked him off. He's never allowed on Semester at Sea again. He's never allowed back on the ship. They banned hard liquor from the ship. From there on out, we could only drink beer and wine for the rest of the voyage. And I didn't see Jason ever again. I mean, I saw him. I didn't see him for the rest of the trip. So when I went back to Boston University, I talked to Jason, and I asked him about his experience. And he said when he fell into the water, he saw the ship, because obviously the world is round, he saw the ship go over the horizon in like 5 seconds. And he thought that no one saw him fall off. And he's like, this is it. And he said when he was treading water, all this glow-in-the-dark phosphorus surrounded him. And it's like this glow-in-the-dark kind of aqua algae. And he said when he lifted up his arms, it would fall off like stars off his arms. And he said it was one of the most magical moments of his life, but one of the most terrifying moments of his life at the same time. And sure enough, if it wasn't for Brian, his best friend, that we would have never, ever, ever found Jason. So if anyone falls off a ship, just make sure to tell the captain to tell everyone to be quiet, because sound travels a lot further than what we can see. So thanks so much.